Happy New Year. It's Donna from redcarpetlearning.com. Hey, what do you do when you throw great parties for your team members? You have great recognition tools, pins, the plaques, the pizzas, the activities year round, and even, cash gifts and gift cards and those kinds of things, and they still don't feel valued and they let you know. What do you do with that sense of entitlement that employees may have? So that's the question I am going to answer today, or at least I'm going to answer part of it today, because my commitment over the next 52 weeks in 2024 is to do one video every single week answering your most pressing questions when it comes to employee and customer experience. Again, I talk about both because I can't separate them. Your employee experience impacts your customer experience. It goes hand in hand. So, first, if you want your question answered, there is a link below this video. Just click on the link and hit the survey button and answer the one question survey, giving me your question so I can put your question in the mix. But let me tell you about this week's question. I'm not, just for confidentiality's sake, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I'm just going to give you the gist of it. I do not work with this organization. I'm not even 100% sure what industry they're in. However, I am sure that their question is a universal question. Many of you are going to have the same question as well. So I'm going to read the first part of it to you. We do regular events for staff and they treat it like an entitlement. So employees don't even consider those events as a thank you. Our owners provide activities year-round, and employees either will not participate or they'll find something to gripe about if they do. And then the rest of the question gets a little personal, but I'll just go on to say that they've had even whole departments refuse to participate in big activities and had people even throw away their gifts and cards, that came from the owners of their organization. So, okay, this is a big question with a lot of different answers, and I'm only going to answer part of it today, and then probably the next two videos I will elaborate on some of what I have to say. The first thing is that after 20 years of experience interviewing direct line, frontline team members in organizations all over this country, my gut response is that there's an underlying something. There's an underlying discontentment or anger, even perhaps in just with a few people, but definitely an underlying discontentment that's not actually being addressed. And so instead of finding out what those discontentments are and then addressing them, working to create a place where people are happy and want to participate in those kinds of events, then this organization, like many others, is using the approach of, as long as we have all these great events, we're building a great culture, they're going to feel appreciated. And that just doesn't actually work. Though all of those things, the pins, the plaques, the parties, the pizza, even the gift cards, and even cash bonuses can be great culture builders as long as the big things are being addressed. So my first response is, I believe in this particular organization and probably many others, there's some discontentment going on that's just not being looked at. So the second thing, and this is what we'll talk about in next week's video, is that I really encourage you to do a better job of listening to your team members, directly asking the questions that you are afraid to get the answers to, and then collaborating with them to build a culture where they're actually going to be happy, where then all the parties and the pins and the plaques are like the bonus, that's the cherry on top of the cake, but that you're really addressing the meat of the matter. So next week's video, we'll talk about those listening and collaboration strategies. The other thing, number 3, is that I think a lot of organizational leaders look at all of those trinkets, those parties, those all of those as this is how we let people know that they're valued. But these are not actually the things that make people feel valued. I've done a study and I continue to do the study where I ask hourly people who work for an hourly wage, what is it? Tell me about a time when you felt most valued at work. And guess what? The parties, the pins, the plaques, like they don't come up. It's other things, and there are 5 themes. And I'll do the third week of the year. I'll do a video on that. So for right now, I want to just encourage you to think about the fact that there is probably something underlying that's not being addressed, and that all of the parties and the tokens of appreciation in the world are not going to make up for the fact that there's some underlying discontentment here. So in the next week video, we'll talk about how do you address that underlying discontentment. All right. I hope that was helpful. This is Donna with redcarpetlearning.com, and I'll see you next week.